Okay folks, it's time to talk about Bobby Kelly, because his big secret was just revealed by TNN. Now if you're anything like me, you've seen Bobby Kelly floating around the comedy scene for years, and never thought to give him a second look. Well, a second look is exactly what you need when it comes to Bobby Kelly. You see, when Bobby Kelly was in high school, he happened upon the book The Art of War in his school library. But after reading a few pages, he lost interest and instead checked out the book The Art of Association. And this little known book is where Bobby learned everything he knows. Now the basic tenets of this book revolved around using your perceived association with someone to your benefit, and included many in-depth tactics and tips on how to do this. So the first thing Bobby Kelly does after high school is start going by Robert Kelly. And sure, that is his real name, but the only reason he insisted people start calling him Robert was to create confusion between him and the newly famous R. Kelly. And so apparently Bob would get booked for appearances as Robert Kelly, with people assuming they were getting the singer to perform at their wedding or party, only to find the white Bobby Kelly stepping out onto stage. And by then, it was too late. Most of the time, the people who booked the performances were too embarrassed to even admit they booked the wrong person. And so Bobby would pocket amazing fees for his average singing. But one night, Bobby was booked to play the birthday of Roland Gift, the lead singer of the Fine Young Cannibals. And if you know anything about these guys, they don't fuck around. The Fine Young Cannibals might be a British pop band, but they also started off as a violent street gang. So when Bobby entered the stage and started singing, he was immediately stopped by Roland. Now apparently Roland yelled out, "That's not R. Kelly," and the crowd grew silent. Bobby might not have known the Fine Young Cannibals' tendency towards hyperviolence, but he could feel the cold chill enter the room. Now after the Fine Young Cannibals' bassist flashed a gun, this scared Bobby so badly that he accidentally farted, which shocked everyone so much that the room erupted in laughter. And Bobby immediately launched into trying to explain that it wasn't him who farted, but that just made everyone laugh even louder. And apparently the Fine Young Cannibals now believed Bobby was a comedian and that this was all intentional. And that's what got Bobby Kelly into stand-up comedy, a new grift. And while Bobby has been relatively successful for many years, if you look back you'll notice every 5 years or so Bobby Kelly looks unrecognizable compared to his former self, completely shape-shifting not only his looks but even his voice. You see, Bobby learned the only way to stay in the game was to change into whatever the industry wanted at that time. And that's why while opening for Jim Brewer, Bobby was the All-American from North Dakota. But when he was opening for Dane Cook, he was claiming to be Cuban and had a thick accent. And then when he started showing up on the Opie and Anthony show, he all of a sudden had a Boston accent. And so Bobby keeps changing to be whatever the audience wants, slowly climbing the ladder. And we all know the inside story about how Bobby used his devious association tactics to actually talk Dan Soder into quitting The Bonfire, telling him Big J was weighing him down with his dirty sex comedy. And eventually Dan starts to believe he could be the next Michael Jackson if only he branched away from his controlling father Joe Jackson, who in this metaphor would be Big J. Well, we all know what happens next. Dan leaves The Bonfire and Bobby Kelly starts his reign of stench. And if you listen to The Bonfire, you know this is absolutely true and not a joke. Bobby Kelly will regularly talk on his publicly broadcast radio series about chopping up his son's giant shits to fit in the toilet. And again, this is not a joke. I've almost wrecked the car from vomiting when he talks about this. And one time he recounted chopping up his son's poop with a metal coat hanger and then some of it flung back into his mouth. Now this isn't a fake story for comedy. He's not trying to be funny. He literally does this and openly talks about it. But if you know Bobby Kelly, you know this is child's play. You see, every time Bobby has farted in the Sirius XM office, it's caused a building-wide evacuation. And again, if you don't believe me, just listen to the show or ask Jacob or Black Luke, who have been in serious on-air fights about this disgusting gas. And here's where Bobby has run into trouble. You see, the art of association is a tactic to help you climb a social ladder. But what happens when you reach the top? Well, now that Bobby is more famous than ever, he can't just change his story and become whatever the audience wants. And it's become exceedingly clear that Bobby Kelly doesn't have any material of his own. Fans have reported going to his stand-up shows only to find Bobby running out of material 10 minutes in and doing strange endurance challenges for the rest of the set. Well, while some think Bobby's on the downward trend, I started to wonder if this too could be an act. And that's when I read this TNN article that alleges Bobby Kelly may be pulling some type of long con, where he essentially kills off his own career, but only because he's secretly been building another. That's right, comedian Adrian Appalucci is actually really just Bobby Kelly in a wig. It seems that Bobby Kelly had mastered the art of association and moved on to the art of appropriation. And there's plenty more strange things about this guy, like the fact that he took Rachel Dolezal to the BET Awards and they were both wearing see-through silk one-piece suits, or his strange tiny house in the woods with no plumbing that he routinely brings comedians to who conveniently all go missing. But we'll have to save that for another time. Until then, Bobby Kelly, you're a total bitch. Okay everyone, if you remember last time I ran into the desert with 2 bricks of cocaine and no clothing or water. Well, the bad news is the cocaine is all gone. But the good news is I managed to run across the entire Mojave Desert in 45 minutes. I reached the Sierra Nevada mountains and found some small outposts with a large antenna. And I was able to rewire this system and obtain maximum internet. But without any food, I won't last long in these mountains. I can feel the Austin Mafia drawing closer. It's almost like they have a supernatural force on their side. Well, TB Nation, we cannot let these mediocre at best comedians win. I refuse to raise a child in a world where Aaron Berg is considered a comedian. TB Nation, rise up and share this video with everyone you can before the axis of Texas terror takes over the earth.